as an attorney with a law degree, what path did you decide you want to take your law or your law practice?
So I went to
Was being a lawyer always the plan?
no.
Like, okay.
So I really didn't think about going to law school until I was a sophomore, junior in college. I came from a family with, I guess, a health background. My mom is, she has her career in health and moved on to administration of a hospital. And then my sister is a physical therapist. So I always kind of saw myself following their path, and doing, I always played sports growing up. I was like the tomboy. And I have three older siblings, two older brothers and an older sister. I'd wear my brother's clothes, not my sister's. So I just kind of always had an interest in sports and physical activity. So I thought, okay, physical therapy, that sounds great. I have an affinity towards science, math. Reading comprehension was never my strong suit. So that was my path. I got to Mizzou and I was still working at a hospital when I come home for breaks and stuff, kind of working as a physical therapy tech. And it just got to this point where I had like made this realization. I didn't really know. I mean, at the time I was 18, 19, like I don't really know. I can't think big scale. Like, what do I want to do? I don't know. So
Crazy is that we're in college and they're like, this is an important time, and they're like, you need to decide right now.
yeah,
It's insane.
it is insane. And I think that like, this is a whole other topic that would take hours to go into, but like education and how necessary that is. I've heard you guys talk about it in your Pat or other podcasts, episodes. And it's like, I wonder where the world is headed with that.
It's like we've got small kids, and it's like, I mean, is college going to be, I mean, for what I do for a living, like I have a degree and I've never used it. I've been out of college for 10 years now and I've not needed it. I've never needed it. Thankfully, I've just, the path that I've gone into, I didn't need to do that. But how many, I know that I'm not alone in that. I can think of so many people that I know that, went and got a degree that, that are working at Starbucks or they're, waiting tables, or they're, doing something where it wasn't necessarily something that they went to school for, or maybe they're working in a job where, it has nothing to do with like their major or whatever it is, but they, they got a degree. So yeah, it's weird. It's crazy. It's just like, I don't know if it'll be around when, I mean, Pat and I both have small kids, and it's like, 15, 20 years from now, is that going to be like the standard path? Like, because I'm sure all three of us, we were all like, we felt this pressure to go to college. Like, if you didn't go to college, like, you're kind of a loser, or maybe not a loser, but like, you just, that's what everybody was doing. So you just wanted to do it too.
Also, you got to look at the state of the economy too when we were doing that. So like, I was coming out when the Great Recession was happening. You guys were going in like right after the Great Recession had happened. So for us, my generation was go to college, and then once you get done with college, in order for you to get a job, you had to have your master's. So then everybody stayed for the master's. One, there wasn't any jobs to be had, and two, they had to get in order to get a job. Like I like to compare the job market when we were coming out of college to what the housing market had been the last few years, where you had so little supply and a shit ton of demand. And so you had to do whatever you could to separate yourself. And that's why everybody was going back to get your master's. And that's why I would say like my generation of the millennials is so boggled down from being able to buy a house is because of their student loan debts. It's insane.
Yeah, dude, I think it is going to come to a head. I mean, I don't know. You guys have such an interesting perspective with having young children. I mean, I'm even thinking about that now. I don't have kids, but history repeats itself, right? So we might get in a point where it is like apprenticeship and trades, and then it'll go back up to education. So who knows? But I will say, for like specialized education, certain master's programs.
For certain people, yes, law, doctor, like there's plenty of professions where it's absolutely necessary, but like just for you to go get like a marketing degree or something, like
Go wear that shit on you.
yeah,
Totally.
like,
And I think like us kind of realizing that too is us taking the step to, and with like the internet, World Wide Web is beautiful. I don't know how people function without it. That's an ignorant millennial thing to say, but
sure, no, I don't know how to get anywhere.
yeah, but we are like, self-teaching ourselves, right? And it takes the initiative to do that. But I think there's just so much to be learned. And like, if you didn't use your degree in terms of like what you do now, it's because you've self-taught your way to this point. And so there's a lot of like, I don't know, for me, that's like very inspiring and is reassuring to me that even in my profession, like there's so much that I don't know. And I have now practicing 5 years, I've come to terms with that and I'm okay with that. And it's like, I'll have meetings every day where somebody will say, well, what about this with my estate plan? And I'm like, I don't know the answer, but I know exactly how to figure it out. And if it's out of my realm of expertise, like I can't get there, I'm going to refer it out. So I think I just went on a tangent. I apologize.
No,
That's what the purpose of this is.
But I mean, in no ways did my health science degree set me up. I mean, my experience in college, it's all made me who I am. But I wouldn't say with what I'm doing right now, it has necessarily aided me. But that's what I graduated with from Mizzou was Bachelor in Health Science. And I came from a family, middle class. My family's just a good family. You know, I've always been privileged in the sense that, like, you know, I'm the fourth of the kids. I'm the youngest. So, like, all my older siblings did extra education. So there was really no question in my mind whether I was going to do it. It was just going to be what was it. So the transition from like this health science background to law was, well, my older brother went to law school, and then my sister met Paul Brusati, who Zach knows, John Brusati. God, I love that shout out.
Oh yeah,
podcast.
Yes, sir.
But he went to law school, and so it's been really. I kind of saw what they were doing, my brother and my brother-in-law now, and so it's kind of like, wow, well, here's this degree where I could really, for someone who didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do, there's a lot of different ways I could.
Yeah, you can cuss. Yeah, okay. Yeah, free reign here, Mom.
It's Brian's mom who I'm worried about. So there was just like a lot of free reign, and that was kind of like the attraction to me with law school. And I think like at the time I didn't really know, but now I know, like there was a part of me that realized like there's this whole other thing that I consider a handicap, reading comprehension, that I'm not good at. Here's an opportunity for me to be good at it. So, you know, when I entered law school, I was like, oh my God, these people knew from day one they wanted to be lawyers. They knew a lot about the law, just like, you know, what's going on with the world politically. And like, I'll be honest, sitting here today, I still don't really pay attention to the news. It's frankly hard to keep up with. It's a lot more drama than I want to.
Yeah, honestly, like me, when I cut that shit out of my life,
Dude,
I was so much happier. Like, it is amazing how influential the media is on people. That is insane. As soon as I cut that out, I was emotional.
I just feel like it's so much negativity. I feel like if you just want to go get pissed off and you go turn on the news and there's going to be something on there that's going to upset you. And I feel like that's kind of what it's designed to do, you know? And
how would I get you to hate?
Yeah, something else, or who do you want to go be pissed off today? Go turn it on, you know, the news.
Yeah.
And I think there's, especially with the internet, there's so many other ways to get your information that I think is, you know, that independent stuff that's usually going to be, you know, not biased and not have some sort of agenda attached to it. And yeah,
totally. I mean, it's, you know, it's so divisive, and it just gets to a point where, like, at first I was really into having those conversations and wanted to argue, and I'm like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I should know this stuff. I should be able to argue these points. And then I just was like, what? Why am I doing this? I think it makes people so closed-minded, and like I just try to stay as open-minded as possible, see both sides. If I'm not educated on a political topic, which is frankly often, I just don't insert my opinion where it doesn't need to be. So anyway, I digress. I went to law school kind of like just figuring it out, and I was figuring it out like all along. And I just still like, I kind of still had that like health science. So I thought maybe I wanted to do like medical malpractice. You know, you review medical records, and I liked when you think of law, you think transactional and litigation. Those are the two big umbrellas. Transactional, more contracts, more, transactions, right? And then litigation is like in the court. So I kind of lean towards litigation because to me, it felt more challenging. I'm not a public speaker. I get nervous, like having to argue my point. I second guess myself. So again, it was like, I'm going to throw myself into the discomfort to become better. So that's kind of where after law school, so I graduated in 2019. So it was wonderful because I actually got a real ceremony the next year, who Brett Weber graduated the year after, and he just I think they did it like online.
It was like through Zoom.
Scrolling through it. It's like, oh God, you worked so hard. And so, yeah, I graduated in 2019. I went to the work for a judge at the Court of Appeals. So that's a state court. There's 3 Court of Appeals in Missouri. The one in St. Louis is Eastern District. And then there's also the Western District, which is like Kansas City area, and then Southern. And it's all like the, like the rural areas, a lot of the rural areas.
It's like screw North Missouri.
Yeah. I'm not eat that shit. Yeah.
It's in northern Missouri. Then what is what's called that Iowa? Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's no man's land. No offense. Those people that live there. Wonderful place.
You guys are great people. I'm sure.
Missouri's great.
We're just talking shit.
But so I did that for a year, and it's called a clerkship. So I was just kind of doing.
So are you in the court like all day with like the judge, or how does that?
So you're in the old post office downtown. Do you guys know that building? It's a beautiful building. They have weddings. Yeah, they have weddings there. So I was in there, and oral with Court of Appeals, it's not like you have the trial court and then you have the Court of Appeals and then you have the Supreme Court. This is all within the state. And then there's the federal structure as well. But trials are happening every day in the trial court. But in the Court of Appeals, there's what's called oral argument. And that's where a case gets appealed and it goes, there's 2 lawyers or however many, but usually 2 that argue on appeal to like a panel of judges. So my judge was one of the judges that sat on the panel. I don't know how many Court of Appeals judges there are, like between 12 and 15. Okay. But that only happens once a month. So I was really only observing court once a month. It's a very chill job. You're working for the state. So, you're taking a pay cut, but the experience is valuable. I was getting criminal cases, civil cases, and I'm basically just writing all day. I'm writing, I'm consulting with the judge. You can't underestimate the power of relationships, and observing. So a lot of learning is through observation. I was doing a lot of observing of just like the way the judge does stuff, the way the lawyers talk to the judges, the way the lawyers acted. Like sometimes I would see one lawyer's getting up there arguing to the panel of judges, and I can see the other lawyer because I'm sitting in the stands, and he's like scoffing, or he or she's scoffing or making faces, and like everybody can see that, and that's important. But so it's just kind of like it was a lot of learning.
Yeah, I feel like it was probably a great like first year to kind of get out into the real world and kind of like really see what it was really like.
Totally.
Because we all learn in a classroom, and then you kind of see or you hear what it's really going to be like, but until you actually get out into the world and like see how things really work, it looks a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how you really learn. Right. And so it was great. And the judge told me that, like, I actually interned for him for a semester while I was in school, and so it kind of just bled into after. And if you talk to like lawyers, like a lot of people do that path where they do that year of clerkship after law school because of the connections and the observation hours. And the judge said from day one, he's like, this is a continuing education. Get as much out of this as you can. You're not going to be here long, because people usually stay 1 to 2 years. It's kind of a temporary thing. Just be a sponge. And so that's exactly what I did. And I worked as hard as I could, and I learned so much, and I still have a relationship with the judge. Those are lifelong relationships.
That's probably a good relationship to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. still have a relationship with his judicial assistant. You know, like you build those relationships there. And from there, I went into private practice. And so that's when I started with this estate planning, estate administration, litigation, was doing like general litigation stuff.